Hello and welcome back to Today in the NBA, where today I'm going to be going over Walk in the West Part 2, which is where I'm going over the Pacific Division, looking at all the teams and how they've performed so far this season. Now to start off with the LA Clippers, they've had a really up and down season this year. They were going really well before the James Harden trade, then they traded for James Harden. I think they lost 4, 5 or 6 straight, somewhere around that margin, and now they're back up winning again. They currently have a record of 22-12. They are 8th in the league in offense with an offensive rating of 118.3 and 10th in the league in defense with a defensive rating of 113.1. Now looking at the personnel that the Clippers have on this roster, it makes perfect sense as to why they're such a good offensive team. Defensively, I would have expected them to be a little bit worse, but still I'm not going to complain that they're doing better than what I thought they would. So to look at this team's rotation, the starters, James Harden, Terrence Mann, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Ivica Zubac. And then off the bench, Russell Westbrook, Norman Powell, Amir Coffey, and Daniel Theis. It is really only a 9-man rotation. Bones Hyland isn't really getting many minutes this season. He has sort of been a bit inefficient and he's not a great defender, so it is sort of hard to play him. With the starters though, James Harden, he's looked really good since coming over to LA. He's passing the ball well, scoring well, hitting the step back threes. He looks more like Houston James Harden than he did in Philadelphia. He has looked really good. Now Terrence Mann, he's just being a great 3-and-D player, a good connective piece, someone that can pass the ball, someone that can defend. He's defending the opposing team's best guard most nights if Paul George or Kawhi Leonard are doing something else. Next up, Paul George. He's been very good this season, shooting well from 3, scoring well, shooting surprisingly well from the field, again playing great defense, and the good thing is he's managed to stay healthy. Pretty much same thing goes for Kawhi Leonard. He's doing the same thing he's done the other seasons. He's just hitting his tough shots, getting to his spots. He's been really good. Zubac has taken a little bit of a step back this season. He's not rebounding the ball as well, and he's never really been a great defender. So that is probably something the Clippers do want to look at if they want to make a deeper postseason run this season. Off the bench, Russell Westbrook has been really good off the bench since he said to Ty Lue. Since he said to Ty Lue, I want to come off the bench, the Clippers have been winning. It was a great sacrifice that he made for the betterment of the team. Honestly, it has been so worth it. Norman Powell's been good. He's getting downhill. He's providing a lot of that offensive downhill force that the Clippers are missing. Amir Coffey, Daniel Theis, they've been solid. They're what they're there for pretty much, sort of back-end rotation players. Now the one thing that I do want to talk about with the Clippers is sort of part of their offensive game plan. They do struggle to get points in the paint quite a bit, I think. James Harden's not really someone that's going to score layups. He's more going for those long floaters. Terrence Mann, he can do some stuff off the catch. He's one of the players that can get downhill. Paul George, he's never really been an at-the-rim player. He's more so drive in, get a midi, or drive in and then a fancy Euro. If it's not really a dunk or some acrobatic layup, Paul George isn't really a great finisher around the rim. He's still a good player, obviously, but he's just not the best finisher around the rim. Kawhi Leonard, he does look like he's lost a little bit of his step this season, which is definitely expected. He's getting older. He's had a lot of injuries throughout his career. And that little bit of a less burst from last season and seasons before, it's just making it harder for him to get to the rim. Once he does get there though, he's just classic Kawhi Leonard. Zubac, he's not really scoring outside of the paint, so that's a good sign, I guess. Russell Westbrook and Norman Powell, however, both good players that are definitely able to do stuff off the catch, and Russ can definitely do stuff off the dribble going downhill. I think that if this team is going to make a deeper postseason run, I think we do need to see players like Paul George, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, if he can, trying to get more layups, just trying to put more pressure on the rim, because if they can't put enough pressure on the rim, then other teams are just going to spend the whole time guarding the 3, and that's never going to go well considering this team is a pretty heavy 3-point shooting team. Next up, we have the Sacramento Kings, who after a great season last year, they have fallen off just a little bit, but they're still a really good team. I think they're hanging around the 4, 5, 6 seed in the West. All those teams, including the 7 seed actually, are only about 1 game apart. Kings have been pretty good this season, record of 21-13. They have been the 12th team offensively with a rating of 116.3. and 19th in defense with a rating of 115.5. The Kings, their offense has definitely not been as good as it was last year. I don't know what that is. I think a big part of it is just personnel, really. Some players are getting better, some players are getting worse. That's just what happens in the NBA. Defensively, it's not a surprise that they're not good. They don't really have the personnel to be good. I think their roster has been getting a little bit better defensively, just with starting Chris Duarte now. I think they've got more of a defensive unit on the floor. They have the ability to put some good defensive players on the floor, but it is something that is going to be tested when it comes to playoff time. Looking at their rotation, starters, De'Aaron Fox, Chris Duarte, Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, Domantas Sabonis. Off the bench, Davion Mitchell, Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and JaVale McGee. The interesting thing to look at here is Chris Duarte starting at the shooting guard spot. Kevin Huerter just hasn't had a great season this year. I believe he is only shooting 34% from 3, and that is just not good enough for what he was doing last year. He was such a vocal part of the offense. The way he was coming off screens, coming off DHOs with Sabonis, he's just not shooting as well this year. Chris Duarte, however, is only shooting 33% from 3, but he's shooting 33% from 3, but he's also giving much better defense. So it is a trade-off that the Kings have to look at. Me personally, I'd probably be starting Kevin Huerter. He's 6'7", he's not that bad defensively. He's obviously not great, but you do have some personnel around him to sort of try and hide him. De'Aaron Fox, Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, all good defenders, they can try and hide him. The other interesting thing to look at is Davion Mitchell and Keon Ellis have sort of been battling for that backup point guard spot. At the start of the year it was Davion Mitchell, then Keon Ellis took it. Davion Mitchell took it back. We all know with Davion Mitchell he's a great defender, but he does struggle a little bit offensively. And then the backup centre, Domantas Sabonis, gets subbed out for JaVale McGee. After the last season that he had in Dallas, I don't think many of us thought JaVale McGee would be playing impactful NBA minutes anytime soon. But look, here he is, backup centre in a rotation of a playoff team. That's pretty good. Another player to talk about for the Kings has been Sasha Vezenkov. He's sort of lost his way out of the rotation. To start the year, he was playing a lot of the backup power forward minutes, but I don't really know what's happened there. He's still shooting well. I think he's shooting 38% or so from 3, but Trey Lyles has taken that spot. I'm assuming it's just the defensive reasons. Sasha Vezenkov was a little bit slow on his feet, couldn't really keep up with some of the more perimeter-oriented forwards, so I do understand why they've sort of removed him from the rotation, and he is a great player that they can look to put in if the offense ever needs some extra juice. Now, the one thing I want to talk about for the Kings is their defense. The roster that they have, I think they could be a lot better than 19th in the league defensively. De'Aaron Fox, he's got all the tools to be a great defender. He's been pretty solid so far this season, actually. Chris Duarte, good defender. Davion Mitchell, good defender. Malik Monk, he has all the tools. Again, he hasn't been that good. He is a little bit skinny, but I think with his incredible athleticism, he could definitely make up for it. So there you go. That is, 4 guards right there that can definitely all play defense, which will be very, very helpful for you. Now for the forwards, Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray is guarding the opposing team's best wing most nights. Occasionally it's Chris Duarte if they're a smaller player, like maybe, Donovan Mitchell, but if it's someone like, say, Jason Tatum, Keegan Murray will be getting that assignment. Behind them, Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles. Kevin Huerter's not really a great defender. He's tall, he's not incredibly athletic, but I do think he could be better than what he is. He just needs to put in a little bit more effort on that end. Trey Lyles, decent defender. He's old, so he has lost a little bit of that athleticism. He's a little bit slow, but he's still definitely a capable defender. Sabonis. Now, the reason why the Kings managed to stay afloat last season defensively, I think the big reason for it was Domantas Sabonis he wasn't good, but he wasn't bad defensively. Throughout his career, Sabonis has been a pretty bad defender. He's fouled a lot, and he hasn't protected the rim very well. Last season, he didn't foul much. He didn't get a lot of blocks, but he did alter a lot of shots, and he was just good at being in the right place. This season, he's not quite doing that, and I think that the X factor for the Kings, if they want to make a deep playoff run, I don't think they can really win the ring at this point. I think the West is just too loaded, but if they want to make a deep playoff run, maybe prove the haters wrong, I think the X factor is going to be Domantas Sabonis' defense. whether he can get back to how he was playing last season or hopefully maybe be even better. Now we have an interesting one, the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns have been, I don't know if it's an interesting watch or a bad watch this season. They've been really good at some points and then terrible at some points. Obviously all the injuries to KD and Bradley Beal, specifically Bradley Beal. There's been a few to Devin Booker as well, but the Bradley Beal I think has had the main amount of injuries. It's made it really tough for this team. They were a team that was built around the Big Three, and when the Big Three has played, they've looked really good at times. Not all the time, because obviously they are going to need to play together to work out their on-court chemistry, but it's been interesting. The Suns, they have a record of 19-16, only just above 500. I think they're around the back end of the play-in at the moment, maybe hanging around the 8th or 9th seed. So that'll be interesting to see if they can push that up towards the end of the year. They have, I believe, the 11th offensive rating in the league with 116.7, 16th in defense with 114.9. They've been an interesting team to say the least. We all knew when they put the Big Three together that the problem was going to be depth, and that really has been the problem. With all the injuries that have happened, it's been really tough for them to sort of look into their bench, because they don't really have a bench, to be honest. Looking at their depth chart, starters, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen, Kevin Durant, Jusuf Nurkic. That's probably the best starting five in the whole league if they're all healthy and all playing at 100%. Might be a little bit of a hot take, but I don't really think so. It's definitely a really, really, really good team, and it'll be interesting to see how much those starters have to play. Frank Vogel, he hasn't really been a huge fan of playing those starters crazy minutes, and that's fair enough because they have been injured, and they really, really, really don't want to be injured for the playoffs, because I think if one of those Big Three, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, is injured for the playoffs, that's pretty much title hopes over, unless Bradley Beal can manage to play like he was at the end of last season. So, off the bench, Jordan Goodwin, Eric Gordon, Josh Okogie, Bol Bol, Chimezie Metu. I mean, it's nothing beautiful. They've also gotten to see a little Drew Eubanks, but they haven't really been playing much. Eric Gordon, he can go off, hit a few threes, but it's not really something you want to rely on. Josh Okogie's been really good for them. He's been a great rebounder, great, not scorer, but he's been a great connective piece on offense. He has been hitting not most of his open shots, but he has been hitting his open shots. Bol Bol, Chimezie Metu, Jordan Goodwin, he's old, but he's young. He hasn't been in the league for very long, but he's still, 28, so it's just... I think that the Suns, if they really want to make a playoff run, they do need more depth. I think if you maybe try and... you can't even really package together any of these players because you just have no extra assets, and these players aren't really worth much by themselves, so it is really tough for them. The X factor for them, and the thing that I think will help them most in the playoffs, is just if the Big Three can really, really gel together before the playoffs start, I think it could be interesting for them. Now, one more thing I do want to say on the Suns is Kevin Durant. I don't think Kevin Durant can leave this team. He moved to Brooklyn for his legacy. I think that if he leaves, this would be his second team in 2 years, that's going to really damage his legacy. Same thing that James Harden did. It didn't really help the narrative around him. Kevin Durant, if he leaves this team, requests a trade, does whatever, I think it's really tough. But even if he does, the Suns don't have to trade him. He has a lot of team control left on this deal, and it probably wouldn't be too terrible if they didn't trade him. Next up, we have the Golden State Warriors, and man, they have an interesting season. I think they are, again, at the back end of the play-in at the moment, just under 500. I think they're the 9 or 10 seed. I'm not 100%, but I think they're hanging around there. They are, I think, 13th in the league in offensive rating, 116.2, and then 20th in the league in defensive rating with 115.7. To be honest, this Warriors team hasn't looked that good this year. They've really struggled with lots of the players from their championship core not competing as well as they were. Andrew Wiggins, he's just gone off a cliff. He used to be a great shooter, someone that could create his own shot. Can't really do that anymore. Have no clue why. Defensively, I don't know if he's just not trying as hard, or what, but he just looks worse. He's just being a worse defender this season. Kevon Looney, not as good, not as much of a presence on the inside, not grabbing as many boards, not altering as many shots, not contesting as many shots. Klay Thompson, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been good. But for Klay Thompson's standards, he's been bad, but he's still shooting, 38% from 3, averaging, I think, 14 or something points a game, maybe 17. Not 100% sure, I haven't checked his numbers in a while. And then, of course, you've got Draymond Green, who's just been a massive head case this season. He's just been real trouble and hasn't really been worth it. He's, again, gotten worse. He's shooting the ball from 3 better, scoring more than he has in the past. But defensively, he's still good, obviously, but he's just not what he was. This Warriors team, it is looking kind of dark for them. Stephen Curry, of course, is still playing like an MVP level player. He just doesn't have that team around him. Steve Kerr, I don't really know what it is with Steve Kerr, but it's his rotations. They're interesting. I think he's trying to hold on to the idea that Klay and Draymond and all them are still great players and they can still be the focal points of winning a championship. I think you do need to pivot more into the younger players. Jonathan Kuminga had an amazing game the other day, and they didn't even play him down the stretch. I don't know what was up with that, but I think someone needs to have a talk to Steve Kerr. I think someone needs to have a talk to all this whole championship core, this sort of core that's been with the Warriors throughout their whole dynasty. I think someone really needs to talk to them and say, look, what's going on? We need to do something unless you're going to sharpen up or going to start competing harder. Obviously, I don't think it's a problem with them competing harder. I think it's just they're not as young as they once were. They're not as good as they once were. That's just what happens as you get older in the NBA. Now, the X factor for the Warriors, I mean, if they can sort of get back to where they were on their championship level run, I think that'd be good. But I don't really know. It'll be tough. Other than that, I'm going to say they're rebounding. They're a pretty small team most of the time, and they do really struggle rebounding. Chris Paul, I forgot to mention him before, so I'll say that now. Chris Paul, he's been alright. He hasn't scored well, and he has definitely not shot the ball well. He's been a little bit worse than what the Warriors expected him to be, but still been a very capable player to come off the bench. So just the rebounding, they really need to look at that. Their defense, they need to look at a lot of things. I think it is going to be really, really hard to fix this team for this season. And finally, we have the Los Angeles Lakers, who, again, their season's been up and down. They started off alright, and then during the in-season tournament, they played amazingly. They won that. And since then, I think they're, it's like 3-8 or something. They haven't looked good. I think they're currently at the 11th seed in the West. Hey, that's good for me. I support the Pelicans. Pelicans have their pick this year. I definitely don't mind if the Lakers finish out of the playoffs and I get another lottery pick. Definitely don't mind. But anyway, the Lakers, I think they've got the 23rd worst offense in the league, which is just really shocking. An offensive rating of 111.8 is just so bad. Defensively, 113.3. They've been a lot better defensively than they have offensively, but it's really, really, really tough. Their rotation, their lineup has been juggled around. I believe it was LeBron James, Cam Reddish, Taurean Prince, Jared Vanderbilt, and Anthony Davis. But then it's been changed at the start of the year. It was D'Lo, Austin Reeves, Taurean Prince, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, I think. Or maybe it was Rui Hachimura in there. He's probably been in there at some point. Everyone's been everywhere. They've just all been shuffled around, and it has not looked pretty for the Lakers. Currently, what it looks like is Austin Reeves, Cam Reddish, Taurean Prince, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. The big problem with the Lakers this year, I don't think it's their personnel. I think their personnel is a part of it, obviously, as every team, but I think it's their coaching. Just some of the lineups that Darvin Ham's having to put out. LeBron James was on a minutes restriction to start the year, so he would be fresher for the playoffs, not get injured, so the season overall could just be easier on his body as he ages, but that's sort of gone out the window with the Lakers being so bad offensively. What they were trying to do was just surround LeBron James and Anthony Davis with 3 good defensive players in Cam Reddish, Taurean Prince, and Jared Vanderbilt. But the problem was, Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt can't really shoot, so it makes it really, really, really tough. Taurean Prince, he can definitely shoot, but he doesn't shoot enough or well enough to make up for the other 2 zeros around him. Cam Reddish, not really good. offensively, to be honest, he's struggling. He's a great defender, especially this season, but you're not going to be able to be a starter in this league by only being a great defender. You have to bring something else to the table, whether it's being able to hit open threes or attack off the catch. Cam Reddish just hasn't really been that great at that this year. Jared Vanderbilt, he's been a really good defender, pretty decent rebounder, good shot blocker, good at the rim. He's been pretty good this season. It's just his offensive game. He hasn't made a single three this season. I think last season he was shooting something like 34% from three. But this season it's just been nowhere near that, and it's been really, really tough to watch. Anthony Davis also hasn't been shooting the ball well. That does not help, especially with the other spacing issues. It's been really tough. LeBron James having an incredible season, especially for a 39, 40-year-old player. He's been so good, scoring the ball, dishing the ball, shooting the ball. He's been an amazing player this season, and it has been really sad to watch him with this team around him. Anthony Davis has also been incredible this season. He's averaging something like 23 points, 12 boards, and then 2.5 blocks or 2 blocks or something. He's been great, especially defensively, and it's been good to watch him sort of be back and be healthy. Problem with this team, though, is you can't just say to LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you need to create everything. And then when they come off the court, it's Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell that have to create everything. It's really tough, and it's definitely not going to be a method for success. And I don't think it's something something the Lakers should continue to do. I think that if the Lakers want to make a postseason run, they do have to probably keep Austin Reeves in that starting lineup and then take out either one of Jared Vanderbilt or Cam Reddish. What they're doing at the moment, it's just Austin Reeves, Cam Reddish, Taurean Prince, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. It's just, you don't really want to see it. Off the bench, they have heaps of good quality players. D'Angelo Russell, Max Christie, Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, Christian Wood, Jackson Hayes. They do have players off the bench. Gabe Vincent as well. I think once Gabe Vincent gets back, it's going to be much more interesting. You could start him at the point guard, run Austin Reeves at the 2, LeBron James or Taurean Prince at the 3, the other one at the 4, and then AD at the 5. That'd be really good, and it'd be a really good team to watch. Spacing around LeBron James and Anthony Davis, that's all you need for your offense to be successful. Anyway, that's my bit of a rant for the Lakers over. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, please consider leaving a like. And if you really enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. I do post daily NBA content, so it is worth keeping up to date on. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one.